guys, so I'm super excited because I did super gnarly rants about epigenetics. It was Stephanie classic. It was messy, it was disorganized, but it made me feel amazing. And that's what epigenetics is. It's about feeling freaking rock star, feeling amazing. Okay, but within that I was like yabbering and I mentioned blood glucose and I was like, you know what? I need to do a video about blood glucose. See, because you can't keto adapt if you have a lot of glucose spiking in your bloodstream. Which ironically before I was talking about your bloodstream being a carrier as well as your nervous system of things that affect the outside of your cell. Right? The first signal and the second one going to the protein within the cell that's connected to your genetics. Epi, to be exact, but that's 2 videos ago. Bloodstream, right? It's a highway system. It's going to carry stuff. So your blood glucose is spiking, yet you have dropped your carbohydrates to 1 gram a day, or less than 1 gram. Why? I mentioned this so many times, and a lot of you guys still don't understand that your body is, we're like animals that should be out in the tundra surviving. But we're not. So all of those complex systems to survive and that sensory go down the friggin' toilet because we don't have to hunt, and we don't have to build shelter, and we don't have to fight off prey. Sorry, not prey. But we don't have to fight off a lion, for example. So we develop all of these hiccups, and we love to, some of the people that want to, justify, oh, there's this, this Mexican tribe that would run for like 20 miles. Hello, intermittently. No primal answer is gonna push their body to the brink and destroy their guts and their immune system like we do today. See, we get this like extreme, we need this extreme high, we need a serotonin bump, we need a sense of euphoria, and we're not getting it in our everyday life because, well, we don't have to survive, literally. So now our complex system to survive, it's still intact, it's still like it's trying to work itself out, and it decides to use stupid things like silly thoughts, technology, stress at the job, your boss, the relationships you're in, your kids, your self-image, as the lion constantly running after you. So this is a stress response. I want coffee, sugar, alcohol. So this is a stress response. And I mean, most of you guys know this, but let's just kind of like concrete it. So this is a stress response, and a stress response is to raise blood glucose to get energy to become strong and run real quick and real fast from danger. Or if you're starving yourself, your body's going to catabolize to feed your vital organs. But the reality is we're not in literally that environment, so we're still creating that effect, that domino effect, by stressing, cortisol, blood sugar, insulin, and insulin does what? Insulin makes things grow. Can it make muscle grow? Yes. But it also makes cancer cells grow, and it also makes fat cells grow. Which is why we don't want to have a lot of glucose, because it is glycating that destroys the protein in your cell, and we need the protein in our cells because that's connected to our epigenetics, because we want to, these mutations within our gene, we want the ability of methyl groups to go around and do the job to keep us healthy. So we don't want to be in a constant catabolic state, because literally, in layman's terms, that makes us fat, sick, ugly, and upset. The reason why your blood glucose is spiking is because you're upset. But you don't know it. Because this reality does not give us any sense of end. There's no freaking utopia. Like, it's a constant grind of dissatisfaction. Because the second that we are born, we are taught that we are not good enough. You're not tall enough. You're not short enough. You're not brown enough. You're not white enough. You're not black enough. I mean, really? Ugh. I feel sorry for you guys that get caught up in those arbitrary, useless things, because we are all friggin' the same. Yeah? We are like this close to being a freaking chimpanzee. And we get caught up in skin color? Really? Ugh. Seriously stupid. Ridiculous waste of time. And a lot of people who are like, you know, kind of these negative, complaining, you know, entitled, vocal people on, you know, I'm better, I'm relevant, you're not relevant. These are the people that are fat, sick, ugly, and have high blood glucose because their cortisol is just jack. Adrenals are overloaded, overstimulated. And this is connected to your steroid hormones. And so we have too much cortisol, which means our blood glucose spikes. So what happens? You stay up too late. You're watching TV. You're on your phone. You're reading from your Kindle. You're arguing with your mate. Your kids, you're having issues with them. You're in denial. Whatever it is, that's going to spike your blood glucose. And with the bad food that you're eating, and now your insulin is just over friggin' jacked. It's overworked. We don't want our insulin to be overworked because insulin makes things grow. Well, we don't want all this insulin because you don't need a lot of insulin to have muscle growth. I mean, the bodybuilder community a lot of people starting to understand that insulin sensitivity is a better thing than insulin resistance, because when your insulin, which does a job, when it starts to pump out and pump out and pump out and pump out and pump out, and it's not getting into the cell because it gets tired. So it's not doing its job. It's not like getting it into the cell, do the job. No. So your blood glucose just starts to get too high because it doesn't have anywhere to go. And that makes you glycate. That's what gives you the heart attack. Not the butter, not the egg yolks, and not the steak fat that people are so afraid of. It's the darn, if people would friggin' turn on the light switch and crawl out of the matrix and realize that elevated levels of glucose past one teaspoon, 5 grams, that's what you should be afraid of. Not the pork fat, and not even the pork meat, which people have some fear of for some reason. If a pig is healthy, most likely their flesh, their cells, and their detoxification systems are going to be healthy. But I digress. Beyond viruses. All right, here we go. So, overtraining can spike your blood glucose. Working out at night can spike your blood glucose. Remember, spiked blood glucose means the insulin has to overwork. The whole thing about your body is that every time it's stressed, it will shut down stuff in your body because it thinks it's running after a lion, so you can survive. Shutting off a bunch of buttons in your body and knobs and switches means that your body's not performing at peak value, at optimum levels. You're not pooping, you're not detoxing, you're not methylating, because everything's got to be slowed down, and if things slow down, you potentially could go through cellular death. And that's what makes you age and get fat and get the love handles. And why am I gaining weight? And I did the HCG diet, and I lost a bunch of weight. But then I gained most of it back, and then I tried it again, and it gets harder and harder every time you do it. Or bodybuilders that are like, I mean, that's a whole nother subject, or fitness, the fitness world. So you guys, if you want to know why your blood glucose is spiking, you do not have to eat 1 gram of a carbohydrate to produce sugar in the body. It's called gluconeogenesis, and that's where your body will take amino acids and convert them into glucose because, it thinks it's trying to survive, would not. Glucose, insulin, overproduction of insulin, metabolic derangement, store fat, or potentially have other potential bad things grow, such as cancer cells. Woo! So, what else can spike your blood glucose? It can be not connecting to the circadian rhythm. Sleeping in. It doesn't matter that you get 8 hours of sleep. You may not be hitting that 5th level of sleep. You're not getting into REM. You're not even really hitting the 4th level of sleep, which is why your body's producing high glucose in the morning. Out of all the people that I've coached, I would say 90-something%, 93, 94% of the time, the reason why your blood glucose is spiking in the morning fasted on an empty stomach is because of the poor quality sleep you had the night before, and in the day, you're not detoxing from the life stress and the decision fatigue that we have created in the modern society with a very primal body. So you can get your macros perfect, but if you don't get everything else in order, your body is going to spike its blood glucose and the overproduction of insulin. The insulin resistance, which you probably were already going through before you tried ketogenesis, which is a great protocol for all, and I mean all autoimmune disorders. As somebody mentioned, vitiligo and tinnitus and arthritis and dysmenorrhea and fibroids and low T and estrogen dominance and diabetes and lupus and multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, and the biggest one, depression, which so many of you guys are experiencing. Extremely tired, fibromyalgia, like all this weird with PCOS, all of these weird effects, acid reflux. Yes, a ketogenic protocol can help you in all of that. But as I always say, to get into a state of ketosis, you have to get in balance. And part of that, getting in balance, is getting your blood glucose lower than 80, lower than 4.0 millimolars, or you've got, and no, at the same time, they work in opposition. High ketones, low glucose, by using a glucometer, not the breathalyzer, and not the freaking urine strips, but a ketone meter, a glucometer, is the best way beyond feeling. Well, now I go by the feeling because I'm good with that. I'm really in contact with the body. So, but for those who are not, because we have been taught not to be running in our conscious self, that is a good way to, as I hate predicting things in numbers, as a short-term method able to check what's going on to make sure that low glucose does not mean hypoglycemia, because you can develop hypoglycemia, or you might have exacerbate your hypoglycemia, could be hidden and then it comes out because you were not able to manage your blood glucose before, because like I said, you might have an underlying insulin resistance that you're not aware of. So if you do the ketogenic diet or lifestyle, non-BS, the wrong way, then those things become exacerbated. But remember, they probably have been always there for a long time. Too much protein obviously is going to spike your blood glucose. I've mentioned it 1,000 times, and for those who keep thinking that our ancestors feasted on a bunch of muscle meat, you stand corrected, because they ate eyeballs and tongue and whatnot. They didn't go and just sit there and chomp on a bicep. It's really hard to do. Okay, guys, so, look for hidden things like ketchup and tomatoes and onions and bell peppers and squash and yellow squash and spaghetti squash and, and your sour cream and your yogurt and, your cacao and all this kind of stuff, because these are the things that are going to spike your blood glucose when you are trying to reach a state of ketosis. And if you have 2 fuel sources hanging around the blood, you're not highly keto adapted. So some people are producing ketones. I'm like, did you check your glucose? Oh, you didn't? Well, check your glucose, because if it is over 80 and your ketones are at 1, there's still 2 in the blood and you're not highly adapted, which is the reason why your food addictions and your craving for food and your low energy of 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon have not gone away. Okay, guys,